An elderly woman is scrubbing the floor to a shine. She navigates among people in wheelchairs, not noticing as a cable from a device gets tangled up in one of it. Michael notices this, but due to speech defects caused by cerebral palsy, he can't speak. A mentor named Eileen notices that the young man wants to say something and brings an alphabet board. When they finish spelling out the word cable, it's too late. Another caregiver, Annie, trips over the cable and falls. Michael watches as the instructor rushes to help Annie, but is unable to help. At Carrigmore, a home for unusual people, a new resident is brought in, Rory O'Shea. Eileen escorts Rory into the home and offers to tell a bit about himself. Rory has Duchenne muscular dystrophy, vocal cords are functional, and 2 fingers on his right hand work. Talking about himself, Rory makes witty jokes and inserts profanity, for which he is immediately reprimanded by Eileen. With Rory's arrival, Michael has a new neighbor. Before bedtime, Michael gets help to wash and brush his teeth since he can't manage it himself. Michael tries to sleep, but the sounds from the neighbor's room are so loud that he has to call for help from Eileen. He isn't the only patient who does so. Hurrying to the scene, Eileen reprimands Rory and confiscates the source of the noise, a tape recorder. In response, Rory says that if the other residents hear him, it means they are alive, and if they are alive, they should scream, but nobody joins him. The following morning, during an art class, Rory spits paint on the canvas, splattering it onto the others, including Michael. The guy tries to tell Rory what he thinks of him but can't. At Michael's examination, Rory approached him and showed him obscene gestures. Rory gets angry, but the nurses don't understand him and suggest bringing letter cards. But Rory says he understands Michael, leaving the guy amazed. After the examination, Michael asks Rory if he truly understood him, and Rory confirms, explaining that he once spent 6 years in the same class as a boy whose speech resembled Michael's. The guy is thrilled and says that Rory's ability is a gift, but Rory just smirks at the comment. After Rory is helped to wash up, he asks for help styling his hair with gel, but Annie refuses under the pretext of Eileen's prohibition. Rory then asks Michael for help. While styling his hair, Rory admonishes Michael about his appearance and learns that he never leaves the house. Rory asks if Michael doesn't want to be like everyone else. After Rory's hair was styled properly, he rode past Eileen's office and complimented her hairstyle. The woman noticed the guy's hairstyle and came out of her office to find out who had violated the prohibition. She spotted Michael with a jar of hair gel. Rory's father, Con, comes to visit him. Rory introduces his father to Michael. Con suggests that he should return home, but Rory refuses. At the end of the meeting, Rory asks to borrow some money, which he wants to spend on a suit. Upon returning to their room, Rory asks about Michael's parents. The guy says that his mother passed away, and his father, a well-known judge, abandoned him here. The residents of Carrigmore are raising money for a fund that helps people with disabilities. Rory and Michael break away and go to a bar, where Rory spots 2 attractive girls. Rory proposes a scheme: they'll pay for drinks, and the girls will assist in consuming it. Michael doesn't like that Rory intends to use money from the fund for this, but Rory just jokes away. The group gets quite drunk, Rory relentlessly flirts, and the girls kiss the guys goodbye. Even if it's on the cheek, but for Michael it's the first kiss. As they leave, Rory encounters a guy passing by who almost starts a fight, and Rory only makes the situation worse. Siobhan, the passerby's girlfriend, stops the conflict and everyone disperses. Michael and Rory see off the beautiful girl with admiring glances. After the bar, the guys go to a club, but they are initially denied entry. Thanks to Michael's resourcefulness, who managed to come up with a clever lie, they are eventually allowed inside. Rory is in the center of the dance floor and calls for Michael to join. Michael notices Siobhan dancing in the crowd and can't take his admiring gaze away from her. Late at night in pouring rain, the guys make their way back home on their own, as they've run out of money for a taxi. Upon their return, they are met by enraged Eileen. Rory takes full responsibility for what happened. Rory asks if Michael has a suit, and after receiving an affirmative answer, they head into town. Rory applies for independent living allowance. This is his 3rd attempt, as the previous 2 were denied due to his lack of self-control and responsibility towards others. Rory claims he has changed, but the commission is aware of the recent incident involving fundraising for the fund assisting people with disabilities. Despite Rory's pleas and threats, they postpone the hearing for another 6 months. Michael submits an application for independent living support to Eileen. The woman asks if she did something to upset him or if she did something wrong. She tells the young man that beyond Carrigmore, he will have to deal with all his problems on his own. However, Michael has made up his mind. When Rory writes an appeal to the commission, Michael calls him to come with him to the place where they will need the suits again. They face the commission once more, but the chairpersons ask Rory to leave. Michael claims he's present as a translator, but the commission insists they have enough experience in this regard. Rory leaves, but after Michael's initial response to the questions, the commission asks Rory to return. After the hearing, the commission decides that Michael deserves their support, but the only problem is Michael's refusal to use speech devices. However, Michael states that a translator, Rory O'Shea, will always be with him. The only thing left is to find an apartment. This proves to be a challenge due to stairs unsuitable for wheelchair users and high rental costs that cannot be covered by their allowance. Rory asks Michael if he's willing to go to great lengths for independent living, and Michael agrees. Rory and Michael head to Michael's father's workplace. They aren't immediately allowed in, but Rory insists. In the office, Michael notices a photo of his father with another son. Michael is unable to say a word. Rory speaks for him and tells Michael's father that Michael didn't want to come here, but Rory persuaded him. They demand a ground floor home with 2 bedrooms and a ramp. Afterward, they won't bother Michael's father, and everything will go back to how it was. The guys get what they asked for. It's their freedom. They look for an assistant. There are many candidates, but finding the right one is not so easy. After an unsuccessful interview, the guys run into Siobhan on the street. She works in a shop. Rory and Michael offer her a job as their assistant. She is hesitant due to her lack of qualifications, but the guys persuade her. Not immediately, but the girl agrees. Rory, Michael, and Siobhan return to Carrigmore to collect their belongings. They say goodbye to everyone. As a parting gift, Eileen gives Michael a present and tells him that he can always come back. As the bus departs, Eileen says this venture will end in tears. On the first day of their new life, the group celebrates their housewarming with gusto. They buy a large quantity of expensive groceries and alcohol in the store. At the checkout counter, they are shocked by the cost and end up settling for instant noodles and alcohol. The first problem confronts Michael that very evening. While Rory flirts with Siobhan, while she uses a hoist to move him from his chair to his bed, Michael tries to brush his teeth before going to bed. The toothbrush keeps falling, and he repeatedly calls for Siobhan. The girl swings between the two of them, trying to get everything done at the same time. The next day, the group goes for a walk, gets new hairstyles, and Siobhan lets Rory listen to her favorite song. From the porch of the house, Rory observes everything around. Children approach him and challenge him to a race, pitting Rory in his wheelchair against them on scooters. Rory's wheelchair battery runs out, and he is just a little bit short of winning. Siobhan learns to understand Michael's speech. Rory becomes jealous and demands attention, getting angry. He refers to Siobhan as a servant. However, Siobhan can stand up for herself. The next day, Rory invites Michael for a walk, but he is waiting for Siobhan. When Michael eventually comes out, he sees a child riding in Rory's wheelchair. Michael searches for him, and the child says that Rory will be back soon. Rory indeed returns to the yard in a car, followed by the police. Rory openly provokes the police officers, and as a result, they take him to the police station. When Siobhan comes home, Michael tells her everything. Siobhan rushes to the police station, but it turns out that Rory was released half an hour ago. She can't find him. Rory comes home late at night. Michael asks Rory to be more responsible, but Rory counters that they wouldn't have their apartment and freedom without him. Siobhan reminds Rory that she has a life outside of work, so he can't keep her waiting, especially when she needs to help him get to bed. Rory asks her not to dictate what he should do, and Siobhan leaves. Rory realizes that he can't go to bed by himself, and Michael offers to help. Just as Michael and Rory are about to do so, Siobhan returns, and without saying a word, helps Rory. Michael tells Rory to be kinder to Siobhan, but Rory reminds him that they pay her for her assistance. Michael admits he's in love with Siobhan and asks Rory to help him express his feelings. But Rory replies that this would make Michael look like a fool because he can't give her anything. The men cry in separate rooms. The following day, Siobhan hangs up laundry with Michael, while Rory watches everything from the porch. Rory's father visits him in the evening because it's Rory's 21st birthday, something the young man doesn't want to talk about. During a walk, Michael and Siobhan run into Declan, Siobhan's former boyfriend. He invites them to a masquerade party. Michael wants to go. The costumes are ready. Rory secretly warns Siobhan that Michael likes her, and today he might confess his feelings. At the party, Michael admires Siobhan. She dances with Declan, which makes Michael angry when he sees it. Rory also observes the situation. Michael invites Siobhan to dance and hugs her tightly. However, she doesn't reciprocate his embrace. Back at home, Michael finally confesses his feelings to Siobhan and asks if she feels anything for him. But Siobhan explains that it's her job, not love, and what Michael feels for her isn't love either, it's gratitude. Michael cries out of helplessness and rejection. The next day during breakfast, Peter, a qualified assistant Siobhan found as her replacement, rings the doorbell. Michael pleads with her to stay, but she remains adamant. Rory asks Michael not to humiliate himself. Finally, he provokes Siobhan emotionally, and she responds that Rory doesn't understand the real world. In the real world, if you want to be equal, you need to show the respect you demand from others. Michael listens to the argument between Rory and Siobhan with tears in his eyes, unable to say anything. When Siobhan closes the door behind her, Michael tries to catch up with her. Rory believes that she should indeed leave. Michael leaves home in the pouring rain, and Rory follows him. Michael is worried that he's ruined everything with his feelings, but Rory reassures him that they both did. Rory admits that not only Michael's heart is broken, but that's no reason to despair because he believes Michael has a future. Drenched, they return home. While out with Peter, Michael confides that he wants to study. Peter suggests applying to a university. Rory follows them a little behind. At night, Michael hears strange noises from Rory's room. Rory is ill, and he has a high fever. Michael calls an ambulance and Peter. The doctor tells Michael that Rory has pneumonia. According to the doctor, most patients with Duchenne muscular dystrophy only live to approximately Rory's age, and he knows this. Michael is deeply affected by what he hears. Rory's father, Con, is also in the hospital. He conveys to Michael that Rory wants to see him. Michael says that Rory needs him, but Rory replies that he doesn't need anyone, he's an independent person. Michael goes to Siobhan to tell her everything and ask for help. Michael visits the commission that made the decision regarding the independent living allowance. The committee is aware of Rory's condition. Siobhan translates Michael's plea. He asks them to reconsider Rory's application, explaining that it was previously rejected due to Rory's lack of responsibility. But how can Rory learn responsibility if he couldn't live in the real world? If the committee agreed to grant independence to someone like Michael, they've clearly been biased against Rory. The committee's chairpeople inquire about Michael's purpose of visit, and he responds that the right should not depend on its exercise. The committee agrees to grant Rory what he requested. When Michael comes to the hospital to share the good news with Rory, his father tells him that the young man is gone. At Rory's funeral, Michael cries without holding back. Siobhan accompanies Michael to Rory's room. Michael thanks her for everything she's done for them. Michael sees Rory's tape recorder, which embodies him. Michael wanders the city completely alone. He's independent, just as Rory said. He can handle everything the world has in store for him.